Good evening,
Good evening.
Rupert. I'm aware, but there's no distinction between awareness and the object that it awares.
Yes? Okay. That's very true. So as a first step, we make a distinction between awareness and its objects. In order to arrive at the experiential understanding that we have just done, that awareness itself is completely independent of the objects that we are aware of. When I say awareness itself, I mean I. What we essentially are is independent of what we are aware of. Feelings of hurt, feelings of boredom, ideas that I don't get it, or I'm not good enough, or I'm unlovable. All these thoughts and feelings belong to the mind and the body. They don't belong to ourselves. And in this way we discover the freedom and autonomy of our own being. It's absolute freedom. Yeah, that's the first step. Now, as you quite rightly say, if we explore the objects that we are aware of, they're not separate from awareness. You're quite right. In fact, not only are they not separate from awareness, they all appear in awareness. Yeah? Your entire experience, which consists of thoughts, sensations and perceptions, appears in awareness, not just to awareness, but in awareness. Yes?
Well, it's not in, it's like even intimate than in.
Yeah, that's also, you're one step ahead of me.
Sorry.
I'm just going slowly, pedagogically, but you're right. So to begin with, we can say all experience appears in awareness like a cloud in the sky. But you're absolutely right. Even that is not quite true, because although the cloud appears in the sky, there is still some distinction between cloud and sky. So it's more like, my favorite metaphor, the image on the screen, where you can never find these two things, one image and two screen.
Even no screen is there.
Sorry?
There's no screen.
The screen in this metaphor is the experience of being aware.
Yeah.
Which is, you're right, it's not an object. It's not an appearance.
Yeah.
In that sense, it is not a thing. From the point of view that believes that objects are real, that there are real things called objects, then we can say that awareness is not a thing or nothing.
Yeah.
But it's from its own point of view. And remember, its own point of view is the only real point of view. From its own point of view, it is not nothing.
Yes.
It is not empty. It is full of itself. It is full to the brim of itself.
It's beyond description.
Of course, it's beyond description. We can't even say it's full because, or that depends on the idea of empty, but we have to use language, or we don't have to, but
Yeah.
if we don't want to sit in silence for 2 hours, we have to.
Everything is awareness. And
Yes, and now tell us, prior to the appearance of any object within awareness, awareness itself is indivisible, yes? It has no limits.
Yes.
It cannot be divided. It's one seamless, intimate substance within the limitations of language.
Yes.
Yeah? Now, your entire experience appears in, permit me to use the word in,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we have to speak, we have to use these clumsy symbols, words. So your entire experience, that is thoughts, sensations and perceptions, appears in this infinite stuff, this unlimited stuff called being aware. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything that appears in awareness must be made of awareness, because there's nothing else in awareness present for it to be made of.
Yes.
So all apparently finite objects are in fact made out of this infinite stuff called pure consciousness.
Why consciousness?
Because
Awareness.
Same thing, awareness.
I think consciousness is also something.
No. In the way I use the words, they're the same.
Okay.
If you use the words differently, that's fine. But just for this conversation and for this evening, forget those differences. They're the same in my language. But let's stick to awareness if you prefer it. That's fine. Everything appears in awareness and therefore must be made of awareness.
Yes.
In the same way that when you put a bucket of water outside on a frosty night, ice appears in it. But the ice wasn't put in from outside.
Yes.
It appeared within the water.
Yes.
What is the ice made of?
Water.
The water. The water itself, within the limits of the metaphor, has no form.
Yes.
But the ice gives it a temporary form.
Yes.
So the ice, the shape of the ice is limited. It has a limit. Yeah? It's square, not round. But the stuff it is made of is unlimited.
Yes.
So the ice gives the water a temporary name and form. And in assuming a name and form, the unlimited water seems to become finite. It seems to become a finite object.
Yes.
But in fact, the finite object is simply an apparent limitation on the water. It's a temporary name and form. Yes?
Yes.
So there are no real limited objects.
Yes.
There is no stuff called matter. There is no temporary finite stuff called matter. All you have ever experienced is infinite awareness. And it is infinite awareness that is experiencing itself. So in religious language, that means all of this is the face of God. Infinite being shining.
Yeah.
That's all there is in experience. Infinite awareness. There are no finite things. What is real is infinite consciousness. What is imagined is mind and matter.
It's also a form of consciousness. It's just playing. Just.
Say that again.
It's like
You mean mind and matter is a form of...
consciousness.
Yes. Mind and matter are ways of seeing.
Yes.
If we look at consciousness through sense perceptions, it appears as matter in space. If we look at consciousness through thought, it appears as mind in time. So space is what consciousness looks like when perceived through the senses. Time is what consciousness looks like when known through the mind.
Yes.
In other words, mind and matter are not objects that are seen or known. They are ways of seeing. To see matter, to see a world made out of matter, is to see in a particular way. To see experience made out of mind is to see in another way. But they are both limitations on consciousness. The only stuff there is infinite consciousness. That's why William Blake said, as a man is, so he sees. If we think we are a body, the world will appear as an object made out of matter in space. If we think we are a mind, experience will appear as thinking, sensing and perceiving in time. If we know that we are in infinite consciousness, then everything will be experienced as a modulation of that. And there will be no fear, no sense of lack, absolute intimacy or love with all seeming things. And we're free to choose whichever way of seeing we please. Experience is very obliging. It conforms to the way we see. If we believe we're a body, experience will appear to confirm that belief. If we believe we are a mind, our same experience will confirm that belief. And if we know that what we are is ever-present, unlimited consciousness, then all our experience will confirm that. Our experience of the so-called world will just reflect that back to us.
It's nothing. I mean, in the sense that You cannot say it is anything.
You're right. It's not possible to say a single word that is true.
Yeah. It's beyond mine.
You can have your money back if you're disappointed.
No.
It's because try now to think of something that is not limited. You can't. It's not possible to think of something that is unlimited.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is not possible to think of reality.
Yeah, that's true.
This is why the Shankaracharya, I quoted this yesterday for those of you that were present, this is why the Shankaracharya said, real thinkers don't think. People who real thinkers, real scientists, real philosophers, people who use thought to go to the end of experience, to explore their experience all the way. Thought brings itself to an end, to its own end, and it's a natural, effortless, spontaneous ending of thought.
Yeah.
It's not a disciplined ending of thought as a result of sitting on your cushion for 20 years, trying to... No, it's thought brings itself to its own end.
It's amazing.
It is truly amazing. It's mind-blowing. That's what the word nirvana means. It means blown out. It is truly... The mind is blown out. If we explore our experience and we refuse to stop short with conventional formulations, but if we say, no, the conventional formulations haven't worked for me, I'm going out on my own. I'm going to explore my experience and stay rigorously with my own experience. If we do that, the mind brings itself to an end. It gets blown out effortlessly. And what remains is what was there all along, the reality of experience shining, but seemingly covered up by thoughts and feelings. What inspires the work of a scientist?
To know.
The desire to know, the desire to understand, knowledge.
Yes.
But the experience of understanding takes place when thought comes to an end. Understanding doesn't take place in the mind. The experience of understanding takes place when the mind comes to an end. Consider this. When you hear a joke, yes, a good storyteller will eke the joke out, yeah, and he'll take your mind on a journey. You're following a line of thinking. And at a certain stage, he'll say the punchline. There'll be a pause, and you burst out laughing. Now, in that pause, the joke has come to an end, but the laughter has not yet begun. In other words, that pause, it takes place in between two appearances of the mind. And it is in between these two appearances that the experience of understanding takes place. We understand the joke after the story has been told, but by the time we start laughing, understanding has already taken place. So the understanding happens between the end of the joke and the beginning of the laughter. In other words, it takes place outside the mind. That is the experience that anyone seeking knowledge desires. Understanding can then be formulated by the mind. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is the experience that everyone is seeking. Not a new formulation in the mind, it is the dissolution of the mind. That is understanding.
It's so cool.
It is. It is. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. I don't need a mind to understand anything. I just knew that.
Understanding cannot take place when mind is present.
Yes.
Let me give you one more. I want to make this point in another way. If I were to ask you the question, are you aware?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're very well practiced at this, and everyone here is, but imagine asking someone on the street the same question. Are you aware? They would say yes.
They must.
They must say yes. Now the question, are you aware, is a thought. Yes? The answer yes is a thought.
Yes.
But there's a pause. What takes place between those two thoughts? Being aware, becoming aware of being aware. In other words, in between those two thoughts, awareness ceases to direct its light of knowing towards the object, the thought, and because it doesn't have a thought to attend to, its light of knowing, its faculty of attention, falls back into itself. And as a result of that experience, we say, yes, I am aware. In other words, the experience of being aware that I am aware takes place outside the mind. And it is everybody's experience. Not just those of us that are interested in non-duality. All 7 billion of us, if we're asked the question, are you aware? Pause. Check our experience. Yes. In that pause, we become aware that we are aware.
Now I don't need the pause because it's always here.
No, you don't need the pause. Once it becomes clear, we then realize that the experience of being aware doesn't just take place between two thoughts. It's very often first noticed between two thoughts. Yeah? Very often you have to turn the movie off in order to notice the screen. But then when you turn the movie back on, you don't lose sight of the screen.
Yes.
So once it has become clear to us, yes, this experience of being aware is my primary experience, and it takes place in the absence of mind, then when mind comes back, it no longer has the power to veil the experience of being aware. In other words, the reappearance of the body-mind world no longer has the power to take us away from ourselves. And that is called being established in our true nature.
What happens when deep sleep happens?
Exactly the same thing that happens in the pause between two thoughts. The deep sleep is a pause between two dreams, which is two thoughts. Now, how long does a pause between two thoughts last?
How long is the pause?
Is the pause between two thoughts?
There's no time.
There's no time, exactly, because there's no time without thought. So how long does deep sleep last?
There's no time.
Exactly. Isn't that your experience?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm always here.
You are indeed, yes.
Beyond.
This here is not a place in space. And I am always now, but this now is not a moment in time.
Yeah.
It is eternity.
Nothing can penetrate this place.
No, exactly.
Even the thought that, how do I stay here?
It's meaningless.
Yeah.
How could you be anywhere else, is the question to ask.
Yeah. It's impossible that I'm not here.
Have you ever been anywhere else?
Never.
Could you ever go anywhere else?
I can't.
Have you ever gone anywhere?
No. And how about otherness? Otherness, like other people. Is there other experience, other people?
How can there be room for otherness in something that has no finite qualities?
Yeah. So this is all just thoughts.
What is the common name for the experience of the absence of otherness?
Absence of otherness?
The common name for it.
Oneness?
Even more common. If you said oneness to most people on the street, they would think you were crazy.
Yeah.
What's the name that all 7 billion of us can understand?
Love.
Love. That's what love is. Love is not a particular feeling that we have towards some people but not others. It is the natural condition of all experience. It can't be portioned out between people.
It's natural.
Yes. Yes.
It's the same thing as like emptiness. I don't know.
It's identical. It's another name for it.
Okay.
Understanding is simply another name for it.
So everything is just, it's just everything. It's just, I cannot say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't know what is love until now.
Say again.
I didn't know what love is
Yes.
until now. Actually, it's just, just this.
Yes. Exactly.
It doesn't need to be created.
Yes. Only unlove can be created.
Everything is love.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ill will is also love. Ill will. Ill will?
Yeah.
It's kind of love.
The only substance present in hatred is love.
Yeah.
It is just loved. Hatred is just love temporarily veiled by thought, or it is love limited by thought.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Every time I open my eyes, I invite the world to take shape. And every time the world takes shape, I am invited to open my eyes. Every time I open my eyes, I invite the world to take shape. And every time the world takes shape, I am invited to open my eyes and see the world raw and naked, holding out its hand, calling me into itself, where I am taken into the transparency of things, and find myself transparent there, standing on the edge, looking down and in to the dark, silent pool in which the world is cradled.
And I am cradled there, held, with all things, and hold all things in myself. Myself, not a thing in the world, but this, here, seeing, in which the world opens, inviting and offering itself. And every time it is seen, it dies, and in dying holds out its hand, again asking to be taken in. And every time I take it in, I too die, and in dying am known as this, here, seeing. Every time I open my eyes.